Many people think that they want to be a writer, but few people actually ever accomplish publishing a book. Meet one Hanover alum who can check the goal off his bucket list just 2 years after graduating from Hanover College. Find out all about Kyle Wllis's new book on this edition of In the Studio. Welcome to In the Studio. I'm Lori Hedges, and today I'm talking with Hanover alum Kyle Wllis, who recently published his very first young adult fantasy novel. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thanks, Lori. It's great to finally be on the show instead of behind the camera like I was when I was here.
So I'm really excited to talk to you about your book today. The title of the book is Jason Phoenix and the Demon Lamp. So without giving away too much, and especially the ending, could you just give us a brief synopsis of what your book is about?
Yeah, so it's about the title character, Jason Phoenix, who's a 17-year-old kid who doesn't know what he wants to do with his life.
Like a normal kid?
Exactly. Every kid, they get that question asked at Sunday dinners and at Christmas, every holiday. So I really wanted to build off of that. And he stumbles upon this mysterious lamp, and it's harboring a demon. And so he makes a deal with the creature in exchange for omnipotence, and in exchange he sells his soul. And so now with unlimited power at his fingertips, he has to learn to control his new abilities, and he's also got to woo his lifelong crush and also stop a menacing gang from pushing a deadly drug in his town. So he's got to do all that.
Wow, it was a really exciting book. I read the whole book. It took me, well, I did it in like 2 sittings, so I got really sucked into it. And the characters are really believable. It's, I think I know some of these people, actually. Hopefully not the bad guys, but some of the kids. But what gave you the initial idea for this story?
I think what gave me the initial idea was it started out, a girl broke my heart, and so I was just writing this to ease the pain, I guess. But then, you know, in my hometown, there was, in the county I lived in, there was a pretty big epidemic with heroin, and so I thought, okay, that's another common problem people face in life, so I threw in the gang there pushing the deadly drug. And then I just kind of built off that, you know, because my target audience is young adults. So I came up with a lot more problems like unrequited love, not being good enough to earn your parents' approval, like another character faces. And then another common problem is like having this pre-planned life out for you and you don't like it. And so you kind of rebel against your parents. So those were kind of all the common themes that I incorporated into the story, and what I think makes it, like you said, really believable, and a lot of young adults can identify with more than one character in the story.
So which character did you like the most and why?
That's a good one. It's hard not to say Jason because he's so interesting, you know? I mean, he's got all the magic and stuff, but that's going to be the easy out. So I think the best character to me is probably, it's honestly probably the bad guy, because Marcus Cruz, because he's just really interesting. You know, I think what makes a villain really good isn't just making them evil. They have to have a purpose. And so his purpose is not necessarily greed, but he just kind of wants, this is how he lives, this is his life. And so does he do wrong things? Yeah, but the world's a evil place, and so you kind of gotta, you know, make do. But obviously Jason. He seemed
like he wanted power more than money to me. That was what I got from him, because he was so caught up in people obeying him and just striking fear and pretty much in the whole town. And at the same time, he's a businessman, so he's kind of like one of the pillars of the community at the same time. It's so weird. So he's definitely a very layered character. So that was fun. So are there any characters that you really don't like and wish you could go back and change them?
Not really change them, maybe make them more important to the story. You know, secondary characters, they serve their purpose. It's about the protagonists and the main characters, but I guess one that I want to build off of is Demedes, which I do in the sequel, and she actually becomes my favorite. So that answers your question.
I think she would be a really fun part to play in a film version of this book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she would be really fun. How long did it take you to write this book?
Well, I started writing it like casually, just like senior year of high school, but when I actually sat down and took the time and actually was trying, it's about senior year of college until I'd say maybe 8 to 10 months once I actually sat down and tried.
Okay. Well, you know that I've been working on my own stories for quite some time, and I haven't successfully finished any of them.
Well, you're busier than I am.
Well, I don't know about that, but what do you advise someone that is embarking on this journey of being an author? What kind of advice do you have for a would-be novelist?
2 things: consistency and have fun. Those are the 2 most important, because if you're not having fun with it, you're not going to enjoy it, and if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to want to do it. If you're doing this to get rich, I'm sorry, that's very low odds. Oh, it definitely could happen, but you need to do something because you love it. You need to get up and want to do it, and so have fun with it. Make it your own. Look at what successful authors that you enjoy reading do, and implement some of what they do into your own writing and make it your own. And then going off of the consistency, just sit down, make like a 500 a word day goal. Just write 500 words a day. And it may sound hard at first. It gets easier the more you do it, and the more you do something, the better you get. And eventually 500 words turns into 1,000, turns into 2,000. And before you know it, one day you're like, wow, I just wrote 2 whole chapters. And you know, it blows by like that. So yeah, those 2 things: have fun and be consistent with it.
Okay. Your book was published by Pathbinder Publishing on March 23rd. So when you finished writing the book, tell us about the publishing process. I mean, you've written the book.
Yeah.
And now you're sending it to an editor, I guess, or I don't know. You tell us the process. How does that work?
Well, after you sit down, you write the first draft. That's when you hire an editor, and now begins the actual not fun part. You may think writing is not fun. It's the revisions, it's the editing, fixing all the grammatical mistakes, punctuation. I hate comma splices, and then I always mix up tons of words. I always mix up like the easy words. You're like, how'd you mess up that one? I think my editor said I always write scene like S-E-E-N instead of S-C-E-N-E.
Oh.
And so it's just stuff like that you catch, and you go back and you have to fix it. It's really monotonous and boring and not fun. But it's
necessary.
Oh yeah, you have to, because no one's going to read the story if you don't have correct grammar. But back to the whole publishing process, once you go through revisions and fixing plot hole errors, that's when you start designing the cover of the book, you start writing the synopsis that goes on the back, you start formatting everything, and then you start making the book and printing it, and then the hardest part is yet to come. It's marketing it, because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And you know, you might think you have the best book in the world, but if you don't market it and get it in front of people, they'll never know it exists, and not everyone can enjoy it. So you have to start building up your platform, whatever it may be, social media, a YouTube channel, getting in the paper, going on the news or whatever, and just start pushing it and marketing it as much as you can. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's, like I said, I've literally sent out hundreds of emails to bloggers, and I might have gotten like 5 responses, and half of them said they do a review. So just continually, I'll go home, and that's what I'm gonna do tonight. Just send out another couple hundred emails. And also asking like podcasts to come on, because they already have a captive audience. And if you get on the right one, they're interested. That's what they're there for. They want to hear about books and independent authors and stuff. So it's about, the old saying is, it's about who you know, networking. Mm-hmm. So you really got to network and make the connections to get the in and get it in front of people's faces.
So would you say that the networking is the most challenging thing you've had to overcome, or was there something else that you...
No, this is definitely the hardest part, because you can put in all the work, but it doesn't matter if nobody knows. And I've done pretty good so far. I mean, I think in 1 week I've gained like 1,000 followers on social media just by following other authors. And there's just tips and tricks to the trade that you pick up along the way, asking other authors for help, because everyone's gone through the growing pains, so we're all there for each other. But yeah, it's definitely like trying to get on the publicity side of it that is the hardest part to overcome.
So since your book came out, you have had some opportunities. Your First, you were featured in your hometown newspaper, the Daily Reporter, and that's in Greenfield, Indiana. And then if some of you think that Kyle looks a little familiar and you're from the Indianapolis area, you may have seen him on, what was it?
Wish TV, Channel 8.
Yeah, and you were on which show on there? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was on the Indy Now.
Yeah. And so how was that?
It was mind-blowing. It was kind of surreal. The whole time I'm just sitting there saying, don't sound stupid. And so I was talking even slower than I thought I needed to, and I'm like, you sound so dumb right now. But then I watched it back, and I'm like, okay, you did fine.
I was going to watch that interview today because I pulled it up on the internet. It's on the internet, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But I was in the middle of writing my script and stuff, so I didn't get to, but I'm going to. So anyway, this has all been a whirlwind debut, obviously. What are your thoughts about the last couple weeks, about what you've experienced? Have you taken the time to like take it all in and catch up with your own thoughts here?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're definitely staying busy. You never, you build it up in your head. You're like, oh man, it's going to be awesome. And then it happens. You're like, this is it. But then you sit back and you're like, wow, I really have come a long way. But I'm also the guy who I'm never satisfied. It's never good enough. And so
that's called being an artist. I don't know any artists or writers or musicians that can't stop. I mean, at some point you just have to go, it's done, because you just want to keep tweaking things, I do that with filmmaking. I know artists that do that with paintings. They just keep, it's like, I can make it just a little better. Yeah. At some point you just have to go, it's done.
Yeah. But like I said, I didn't want to just have it be published. I want it to be a very popular book, because when I set out to write, yes, I loved it, but I was going through a hard time, and so I wanted to try and help people who read it. Like I said, all the common things teenagers are going through. If I can help them, get through a hard time, or as simple as like someone wants to read it during their lunch break, or fall asleep at night, then I think I did my job. So I need to try and keep pushing to get it to be the best book it can be by getting in front of people's faces.
So what's next for Jason Phoenix? Is there a sequel, or are you going in a whole different direction? And you're not a teenager anymore, so is Jason going to be an older person now, or is he still a teenager in your books?
No, he'll always be a teenager. I've I've mentally plotted it out till the third book. Don't know if there'll be a fourth, but yeah, I've pretty much gotten through the first draft of the sequel. But I've had a couple people pre-read it and give me like constructive criticism, people I trust and value their opinion. So pretty much he's always going to be the teenager. The working title is The Wrath of God. So yeah, the sequel is featuring Jason, who is now, dating Taylor, the other main character in the story, and God, capital G, comes and basically is hunting Jason. So
because of his
yes,
taking the powers that actually belong to God. I mean,
kind
God is omnipotent, so
yeah, kind of. He views Jason as a threat, so needs to eliminate the threat.
Oh, wow. There used to be this saying that your arms aren't long enough to box with God.
Well, Jason can do whatever he
wants.
wants.
Yeah, he can. That's true. That's true. Where can people find this book if they want to read it for themselves?
Yeah.
And I really recommend that you all do read it for yourselves. So where can we find this?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's also on Barnes & Noble. You can also find it on my website. And if you purchase a copy directly through me, I'll sign it and send it to you. So who knows, maybe in a couple years it'll be worth thousands.
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. Is there anything else you would like us to know about your book or anything?
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. If you're really considering pursuing a route and writing a book, you need to be committed, and like I said, just have fun with it, because it's a long process, and but it is very enjoyable. I know I talked it down, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. This is what I want to do. But like you said, I work at Fastenal Company because writing is not a steady income until it does.
Right.
So,
like most artistic endeavors,
exactly.
You have to have that day job until you make it big, and,
exactly.
and you can do your passion as a living then. Well, I just want to thank you for coming down here and driving all the way from Columbus to talk about this delightful novel. And I did like the talking dog. We won't tell them anything else. We'll just say there's a talking dog in this. And if you want to know about the talking dog, you have to read the book. So get the book. But thank you for coming down and telling us about your book and about your life. And it's been great.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Okay. So the book is called Jason Phoenix and the Demon Lamp by Kyle Wllis. And we wish him many book sales, many book sales, and a very successful career as an author. Thank you for watching this episode of In the Studio. I'm Lori Hedges. See you next time.